Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about my opinions on how fun Springtrap is. I've already covered how strong he is against good teams. I feel like he's kind of like more of your average B tier, kind of middle of the ground. Against, newer to average players, he can honestly approach A tier. But for the most part, I think he's a perfectly fine addition to the game. I don't really have any major complaints with Springtrap, but after playing him for over a week now, every day straight, I do have a better idea of how interesting and fun and entertaining I find him. And I got to say, I'm like a little disappointed. This is not like a huge failure or anything like that. It's not that serious. But in my opinion, the fun of this killer has kind of dwindled a bit. And the main reason is the main thing that makes Springtrap so unique is the orbital trajectory of his projectile. There's no killer in the game that has a projectile like that. Unknown is the closest approximation, but even Unknown doesn't work the same way. So it really is the main unique thing about him. Everything else about this killer, some other killer does. So I was really excited about that whole orbital thing. And yeah, in the back of my mind, I was like, okay, this is probably not going to be a viable thing long term. But, I like to live in Fantasyland where I thought maybe this will be an actual playstyle we can do. But now, as it turns out, every day for a week playing him, going for these orbital shots, it just really isn't a super viable thing to do. I'm getting pretty decent at them to where if someone's at a loop I know I can hit them at, I can maybe hit them in 1 in 3 or something like that. And it feels great. And trust me, when you hit these shots, it is awesome. But I was going back and watching all of my games, and I realized I would really only start doing this when I was already winning the game. The orbital shots weren't helping me win, they were just letting me farm clips when I was already winning. And I think that really does say something about how much of a meme they actually are in terms of actual effective ways to play the killer. So the orbitals are fun and awesome, but they are just too inconsistent to perform, and the cooldown is too punishing every time you miss to where if you're really going for these every time, you're just probably going to end up losing. And don't get me wrong, I'm not really super serious about this game. I'm not super sweaty about it. I love just doing silly shit. But even I get sick of eventually just losing, 4 or 5 games in a row because I'm just trying these crazy shots over every loop. And eventually I just get sick of it. And the negative reinforcement just makes me go, okay, fine, I'm just going to play Zoning Huntress. And turns out that's the far more effective way to play this killer. And I think that's where I became kind of disappointed. Where the unique thing about him, it just simply isn't a reliable thing to do. And yeah, you can sit there and go, well, who cares? Just have fun. And like I said, I am mostly like that, but you do hit a limit of losing eventually where you just can't deal with it anymore. So eventually, you just gotta settle on the fact that the strongest thing about his kit is his zoning. His zoning is insanely strong. He holds up an axe and moves like 15% faster than Huntress holding it. So you do have an immense ability to zone people and just move closer to them holding the axe. And it's not very interesting. It's boring to go against. It's really not super fun to play as, but it is just the most effective thing you can do. It's very safe and it's very effective and it's very low risk and all that stuff. So it's kind of like, why not just do that? And as long as that is, I think, the safest strategy for him, I will always be a little disappointed with the killer overall, and even other aspects of his kit as well. So like I said, everything else about him is something else some other killer does. This is effectively just fancy demo portals, his on-demand stealth using power. There's a bunch of killers that have that too. So the actual traversing the security room. It's a cool idea. It's a really thematically awesome way to do it. And again, thematically and aesthetically, this killer is a 10 out of 10. In fact, some Five Nights at Freddy's fans are actually saying they prefer this version of Springtrap, this rendition of him, more than the actual game depiction of him, which is, I would assume, an extremely, very, very high level of compliment there. That's amazing. So the actual aesthetics and everything, theming for it is just really super, super well done. Perfect, I would say. But the actual element of gameplay here when we're traversing the doors. Let's talk about the cameras first off. The cameras, a lot of people are saying are very strong. Like I'll see on Reddits, Reddits, by the way, it's on the Reddits, but people are saying like, you can have permanent wall hacks, survive with friends, or using these cameras and giving permanent wall hacks on the killers. Nothing you can do. No, what the really good teams are doing is just not interacting with the camera mechanic at all, because there's not really a reason to. You giving someone in a chase 5 seconds of wall hacks is not worth the time lost going to a camera and fucking with it and not doing a generator. So, these things tend to happen as the new shine wears off, optimal play begins, rearing its ugly head. And yeah, it turns out just using the cameras is pointless. There's not really a reason to do it at all. So that whole mechanic, while incredibly thematic, and you go, oh my god, I'm playing Five Nights at Freddy's, there's really not much of a point of doing it. You're just wasting time. So people eventually over time realize they just shouldn't bother with this anymore. So that whole aspect might as well not even be in his kit anymore. And then there's the actual stealth itself. But the problem is people are getting better at dealing with this as well. I noticed this on the PTB because I was testing with people that it was like telling what's happening, and they were already looking out for a lot of these things, but now it's spreading more and more to the point where the actual ambush potential of the doors has gone down a lot because people are starting to just know what to look for now. And so people have already begun to learn, yeah, there can be doors right at generators, and that kind of sucks because he can pop around and just, keep pressure pretty frequently. But people have learned the door panel starts glitching out when he's coming through the doors, and that's right when he initiates it. So you have a good 4 or 5 seconds to just run in a straight line away from him, and you're long gone at that point. It's going to take a while to catch back up, and I'm already seeing people pre-earning when I do this, and there's even things that a lot of people don't know about yet. So once people learn about these other hidden things, the pre-running is going to become even more prevalent. For example, I'll let you know one of them. Whenever Springtrap is going through one of the doors, the ambient sounds of the map actually completely stop. So like the wind and bird sounds or whatever completely stop. It's very noticeable if you actually pay attention to it. So now you can know whenever he is traveling through a door and just simply run for 5 seconds in one direction whenever you hear this. Worst case scenario, he doesn't choose your door, you've wasted 10 seconds going there and back. Not a big deal. So people are starting to do that now as well. And so I'm really finding it a lot harder to just very easily ambush people. I'm not saying it never happens because, of course, I'm still getting, quick chases on people and that feels really nice and stuff. But I'm saying over time, as more and more people learn these things, you're going to find less and less value from aspects of his kit. And that's the kind of thing I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about long-term, maybe not right now while the new shine is still there. I'm thinking long-term, we're going to start having people countering this killer a lot more, and it's going to make it so all these aspects of his kit that are really making him unique kind of fall back to just, hey, I'm holding a hatchet and zoning you and getting a hit that way. Because sadly, that is still the most effective way to play the killer. Getting a quick double tap with the grab feels really nice on the killer side. On Survivor, it feels miserable because zoning is just boring. He just holds the thing up, doesn't lose any distance to you, because he moves, I believe, at 3.68 meters a second while holding his axe up. Huntress is like 3.08, so there's like a massive difference there. And although Survivors do run slightly faster than the killer holding the axe up, you're not running in a straight line, so you're not actually gaining any distance. You have to be juking, or he's just going to hit you because you're running in a straight line. So although he does move slightly slower than you, you're zigzag, and therefore you're not gaining any distance, so he can just wait until you're locked in an animation or till you're about to be behind a line of sight. So it really just it comes down to just kind of simple, effective zoning, and that's like his whole main thing. I do also find his ability to patrol gens to be kind of annoying. I say this from the killer side. I have noticed sometimes there'll be the last 3 gens with 3 doors exactly on the generators, and I don't even chase people. I just go back and forth and just use pop and eruption on it over and over and over again, and it just makes the games take a really long time. My other options are just lose, so I don't want to do that, but his ability to beam back between the gens is kind of obnoxious as well. But the problem is he's not strong enough to warrant a nerf in any regard. He's not even a particularly amazing killer by any means. So all like the free zoning and the free map pressure from that stuff, I don't even want them to nerf it. It's just something that's in his kit that I'm like, okay, he kind of needs it because he's not strong enough to function without it, but also at the same time, So that's overall how I feel about him. Just kind of like, he's a very okay, fine addition to the game. It's very safe. There's nothing really wrong with him. I don't even want to point this video as negative. He's just very like, okay. And I think that's fine. I just expected a bit more, and I guess I was a bit more, rosy-eyed at the idea of making these orbitals a real part of his kit. I would really love to see them hone in on that more, like, I don't know, the higher you aim, the bigger the hitbox of the axe gets. Maybe there's like a shockwave or something like that. Just something to make it slightly more feasible, because hitting a projectile that's smaller than Huntress's hatchet through over a wall where you can't see the survivor, doing an arc and guessing where they're going to land in the... It's just too much. It's too much to reliably do. And again, even though I'm able to do it, maybe 33% of the time, the cooldown for missing is simply too high for this to be a viable thing to consistently attempt in your matches. So I guess I really just want to like hone in on the point that there's nothing wrong with this killer. Like, I don't want this to be another, oh, Scott's being negative again. This is not really negative. It's just very neutral. I think this is kind of as neutral as you can get. He's just the most, this is okay, this is fine killer in the game, in my opinion. So what can we change about him? I would love to see the free zoning toned down and the orbitals brought up. So something like that, where I suggested the differing movement speeds. Dude, I would literally prefer he just not have a 110 mode at all. He just simply moves at normal move speed, but his zoning is worse. That way, his map control, like when he's not like approaching a door, like traveling from a door, is a bit better, but he also doesn't get the free zoning on survivors, which is kind of not interesting. So there are definitely things you can do to make this killer more engaging and still retain his overall level of decent strength. But I am really starting to see people very quickly learn these tells and things to counter his power. People are already seeing, like, if I'm looking up now, they already know I'm going for an orbital, and they're already like starting to leave the loop or chain a different tile together. So yeah, it's becoming really difficult very quickly to utilize the strong aspects of his kit, and I would love to see shit like that be the norm, but the truth is, it's really only something I do. What a weird network error. The video's done anyway. It's really only something to do for show. So unless I see someone that's able to somehow reliably hit every single one of these, it's just, I don't think that's ever going to happen. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think about him. Overall, I think he's a perfectly okay killer. I was just a little disappointed with the optimal strat being kind of not particularly interesting. So that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.